The way the mitochondria typically manages those is with glutathione and melatonin. Those are two well-known antioxidants. Melatonin is obviously the sleep hormone. That's also an antioxidant. Well, we also have a picture that different parts of our body can get depleted of things. So different mitochondria throughout our system can get depleted of glutathione and melatonin. And that's when reactive oxygen species are available to go around and do damage. I imagine them like little bumper cars doing damage and everything they run into. That's where this molecule comes in. And we know it's resident inside the mitochondria. We know that it can hold negative particles, right? So this is up to 6 of them. So reactive oxygen species are negative particles. There's a BOSS theory, buffering oxidative stress system. That's a buffering oxidative stress system that really has never been documented before.
And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Valuable information for us moving forward. Now, last time we were talking about C60 EVO, and I had Chris and Patty on with me, and the response, I don't know, we had 600 and some comments come out of the video. And, you know, for me, I did write down a lot of what people were asking in the notes here, and I wanted to go over them a little more fully. Because, you know, it does seem that we're coming into another, what seems to be leading into a 2.0 of what was experienced over these last 3 years. So with that said, and, you know, the healthy diet or the unhealthy diets that we're exposed to today, and just the seed oils and all these things that are just ravaging our bodies. So how do we bring that back into balance? Because I like to bake my own breads, and that's the reason I'm really into the wheat and the glutens and these sort of things to understand them. But with that knowledge, I also see that whole agricultural damage that goes along with it, and also how that affects our bodies versus what the original plants were when they weren't manipulated or changed. But it's not just the foods, it's anything that we're consuming, the air we're breathing, the toxins around us. I mean, there's a lot of just things bombarding our physical bodies here. So with the questions that were asked from the comments in the last video, and I'm so thankful that Chris and Patty have joined me again. So I'm just going to start reeling off some questions. It's going to be a full information download for you here on if you think you're feeling off a little bit, how you might be able to bring that back into center again, because it's going to be super, super important moving forward. We're going to have ultra clarity with the changes that are happening across the planet. Like when you make decisions, they're going to have to be impeccable decisions at lightning speed. You're not going to be able to sit around and twiddle your thumbs and go, well, should I? You need to have clarity moving forward. And that's what a lot of us, including myself, you know, sometimes I'll find myself lacking that, and I'll look and then I'll see what was in my diet or, you know, what was around me. And then I'll try to pinpoint that and, you know, cut that out of my diet or around in my environment. So here we go. Thanks for everybody joining again. Now, I want to talk about antioxidant properties real quick here with C60 or C60 EVOs. Tell me about these antioxidant properties, because that's what I really wanted to start at is the first thing. If you're going to get damage from the foods, the airs, the chemicals, the whatever household cleaning products, fuels, or just stuff coming out of the air, like how do we get that process of those radicals to stop? And how does that help?
Well, first, David, thank you so much for having us back. Glad your audience asking questions. Like it's always fun to interact and get these things addressed. And when you think in terms of antioxidants, I'll tell you the first kind of dive into understanding the antioxidant capability of the molecule. And just super brief, right? This molecule, if you're watching, I'm holding up a model. If you're listening, imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you got a molecule of 60 carbon atoms, discovered in 85, Nobel Prize in 96, and then actually is responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result in history. So a 90% extension of life of test subjects. In this case, it was Wistar rats. So one of the first questions that come out of that story are, well, okay, why did they live longer? What is that thought process? Medical community tends to think about, and this is debatable, but tends to think about longevity being an issue with inflammation. So aging is caused by inflammation, or they're actually calling it inflammaging now. And we can potentially talk about that a little bit later, and oxidation. And it's interesting that our product ticks both of those boxes. And I want to kind of share that kind of from a 10,000 foot view. So first, in terms of an antioxidant, there's ad hoc studies out on the web that show we're 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. There's peer-reviewed published research that shows us to be 125 times more powerful than vitamin C. So certainly we check that box. And then there's a BOSS theory, buffering oxidative stress system theory, that we can get into in a little bit. When you talk about inflammation, right? So that's the next box to tick in terms of aging. And really, obviously, both of these are related to your immune system. The FDA allows us to say that we address inflammation, at least as it relates to exercise-induced inflammation, right? So we've all had a tough workout, or maybe walked a little longer on a particular day and woke up the next day feeling that inflammation in our bodies. We absolutely address that type of inflammation. What the FDA is a little more particular about and doesn't really say is that we are able to address systemic inflammation, so that chronic long-term inflammation. And we just need more research. And once we have that research under our belt, it'll take a while, but once we have that research under our belt, we'll be talking about that type of inflammation also. To kind of go back to that BOSS theory, and I think this is the real crux of a great many things. We get testimonials literally from head to toe. I've been kind of racking my scientific brain about why are we getting this testimonials? It's not normal to get things like, and I'll throw out things like hair growth and then actually faster toenail growth, right? Like these are things that are being reported by our product. By the way, not making any claims there, just sharing some responses from our customers. And why are we getting these head-to-toe testimonials? Well, I think it really lands on this BOSS theory, buffering oxidative stress system. So let me explain this. I'll try and keep it simple and short. It's a little bit long, so bear with me. Almost every cell in our body has mitochondria in it. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of every cell in our body. Without mitochondria, our cells don't have the energy to do the work that they need to do, whether it's a liver cell, a heart cell, kidney cell, whatever it is. We know from peer-reviewed published research that this molecule, we call this molecule ESS60, is present in the mitochondria. So not many things get into the mitochondria because we're talking about a component of each cell in our body. There's about 50 to 5,000 mitochondria in each of our cells. So we know that this molecule is present. We know that it's an antioxidant. And we know that like any energy source, there's negative byproducts. So as your mitochondria is going about its job, making energy for the cell, it's got some byproducts. Those are called reactive oxygen species. You kind of think of a car going down the road, out of the exhaust, all of those components aren't that good. A power plant out of a smokestack, not that good. You want to manage those. The way the mitochondria typically manages those is with glutathione and melatonin. Those are two well-known antioxidants. Melatonin is obviously the sleep hormone. That's also an antioxidant. But we also have a picture that different parts of our body can get depleted of things. So different mitochondria throughout our system can get depleted of glutathione and melatonin. And that's when reactive oxygen species are available to go around and do damage. I imagine them like little bumper cars doing damage and everything they run into. That's where this molecule comes in. Again, we know it's resident inside the mitochondria. We know that it can hold negative particles, right? So this is up to 6 of them. So reactive oxygen species are negative particles. So I picture it like a paddy wagon. Like imagine Mardi Gras, right? You're on Bourbon Street. It's the end of the night. The reactive oxygen species are the crazy over imbibers or breaking cars, smashing windows. And the glutathione and melatonin are the police that handcuff themselves to those reactive oxygen species and get them off of Bourbon Street. Well, when those get depleted, now you have these ROSs, reactive oxygen species, running around. That's where this can act like a paddy wagon and hold on to those reactive oxygen species until the mitochondria is able to replenish the police, right? The glutathione or melatonin, which can then handcuff themselves to those and leave this ESS60 molecule resident. And when you think about the start of this conversation was antioxidants. That's a buffering oxidative stress system that really has never been documented before, and there's good research to support the premises of it. And I think that's what is really having the head to toe impact that our product does.
Yeah, I had a follow up with that. How does the manufacturing process retain and enhance these antioxidant properties?
Yeah, so the antioxidant properties are inherent into this ESS60 molecule. So when you go back to discovered in 1985, Nobel Prize in 96, in the 90s, it was understood that this could hold up to 6 negatively charged particles, right? So this molecule on its own holds these particles. Well, these oxidative agents are negatively charged particles, so this can hold up to 6 of them. And we knew that from the very beginning. We didn't necessarily know, like it was theorized it would make a good antioxidant until we had those peer-reviewed published research papers that showed 125 times more powerful than vitamin C. That's when we really know it. When you think in terms of the manufacturing process, right, this molecule we sell in a powder. The powder is a black powder. You just hold it in your hand. But that powder is a crystalline powder, right? So kind of like sugar or salt rocks, crystals, they're not individual molecules. Well, it turns out that the black powder, right, so this ESS60 molecule is not water soluble. So you can consume it. It's safe to consume as long as it's ESS60. But it's not bioavailable. So your system, you'll just excrete it out, and it really will have very minimal impact. When you take it and you dissolve it into olive oil, now you get down to the monomolecular layer. So you're actually breaking apart those crystalline structures, and you're having individual ESS60 molecules floating around in that oil. So now it's significantly more bioavailable, and that's actually what allows your body to absorb it, put it in the places that it wants to, right? In lipids, typically. So that's cell walls, in the mitochondria, and then it can do its antioxidant job.
You know, Patty, I have something for you, because remember we were joking around on the last interview using the hair tonic, mixing them together. And I'm just going to say, Mr. T, you better watch out, because I'm coming in thick right in the center there.
Oh.
Well, you got to be old enough to understand that joke. If you don't know, like Mr. T, then that's like over somebody's head. But
I pity the poor fool.
Yeah, those two right there. Can you see those? Yeah.
So what results are you seeing? Are you scratching your head before you put it on? You doing it every day? What?
I use the face serum a little more, and my wife does too. We like that. The other one's still in the shower over there. But yeah, mixing these two. I just put it on and just like rub it in. I don't scratch it in, because my head's got no hair anyway, and I wouldn't want to scratch myself all the way down.
My hairdresser has
And this one, excuse me, but this one you need almost nothing, and that dropper in there is really nice too. The way you just press down on the plunger, you just need like a littlest bit. I mean, this thing will stretch from here to Mars and back. I'm telling you, this is amazing. Anyway, I was trying to get my Mr. T joke in. Like, how often do you get a Mr. T joke with some C60?
So the only reason I mentioned the massage, the scratch, is because if you kind of break up the skin cells on your crown right before you apply it after a hot shower or something, you might double your results and have Mr. T in twice the time. Hard to say, can't guarantee it, but yeah, waking up the cells, you're going to get even more results.
Hey, but can I throw a rat story to you here, since you were talking about experimenting with C60 on rats? And
Yeah.
All right, now this is for giving hope to the world to talk to people. I know it's a very strange story and Chris, you might even know this experiment they did, where they had these tubes of water, and somebody who was running, it was from the 1950s. And the first round, they just dropped the rats in, and then, they drowned after about maybe 15 minutes. That's all the longer they could hold on. But then round two, what they did is they dropped them in the tubes, and then right when they knew that was around the 15-minute mark. So right around the 14-minute mark, they pulled them all out. They dried them all off. They gave them food, gave them water, let them rest a whole day. Then they dropped them back in the tubes the next day, full of water again. This time they lasted 60 hours. And that's interesting that it's C60, but they lasted 60 hours because that ability for hope that we know that something's out there that can, make our world better, make our society better, and also build our health. So if you're at the edge, just please hold on for another day. There's something else to, to be grateful and thankful for, this hope that's out there. And just, I found it so apropos with the world we're living in, but also, how science can back up. It's all about the thoughts in here and being able to, get that resonance in your body itself. But there's also substances that can go in there to help you do this at the same time. That was my story.
You mentioned I had heard that story. Kind of didn't. It wasn't top of mind, but I had heard that story. It is impressive to understand. Hey, if there is hope, how much more you can actually give of yourself. You mentioned kind of lightning speed, like brain working at lightning speed. And that kind of resonated with me a little because our most consistent testimonial is our customers take the product typically in the morning. We recommend in the morning because a small percentage, if they take it later in the day, it'll keep them awake. But they take it in the morning. They report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. And so when you're talking about like having your brain making decisions at lightning speed, that focus and energy is really important to have at your disposal.
And the thing I'm finding most beneficial for me about the C60 Evo is the mental clarity and also the endurance. Now, for runners, they get running endurance, and whatever it is that you do, I feel like it kind of builds your stamina, your flexibility, but the mental acuity that I've been finding with the Evo, with a lot of the influencers that we work with, Alfred Lambermont Weber, I don't know if you know him, he's 81. He's been doing our Evo for 4 years. He just wrote 4 books last year. I said, 4? How long? Hundreds of pages each. The guy's 81. He had his blood tested, and it came in at 25 years old, his hemoglobin. The doctor called him on the phone, like, what are you doing? How could your blood be this young? And he said, this is all I take. And people are saying that I need to take all these other things. It's like, this is all I take, because I feel like it clicks all the boxes. And for me, it's just intuition. This works for me. I got everything I need here. We got it for pets. I feel like I don't need to shop a whole lot, but we don't want to run out of food like you were mentioning. And yeah. Oh, do you have a dog?
I'll show you this one here. I've been dropping this on my dogs. I have 2 dogs out here, and they're one's 40 pounds, one's 60 pounds. So about half this bottle's already half finished. I don't get to them every day, but I give it to them, and they just, no pun intended, wolf it down, but they do. It adds something on top of the food for them there. So dogs love it. I can attest to that. Really, I can. They're like, dogs are like, yeah, great. There's always something they're sniffing. Oh, there's something extra in there. I'll take it.
It's got a natural bacon essence. We kind of cheated. Yeah. And we have a cat formula that's got salmon essence. So, I mean, we got it with the pets. They're like, Dad, put the Evo.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's got a nice.
Give me the rib bones. Okay.
Right. But again, people love their dogs. I'm sure you love your dogs. Like a lot of people love their kids. A lot of people love their dogs, cats. And when they're sick, when they're old and ailing and sitting in a corner lethargic, and all of a sudden you put a few drops of something, miracle molecule, whatever, and you see them bounding up the stairs within days. Those are the testimonials we're getting. People like amazed. I used to have to carry him down to go to the bathroom. Now he comes bounding back. Chris and Robert down there, they just make my life easy like I do theirs. We got this really nice flow because we don't put out products without testing every batch. When we say 0.6 milligrams per milliliters, it has that. 0.8 milligrams per milliliters, it'll have that in any lab. I'm actually holding up the only one that we do in a capsule for people that travel, people that want to take it with you. On a flight, you can't take a bottle of oil, most likely. They'll pull it off you, but the caps in a baggie are the way to go for travel. And probably, do you find that you're having, I'm not supposed to lead testimonials, but I'm curious if you've noticed any more endurance, like where you're up later at night going, why am I still awake? Researching. I do that.
Yeah, but I'm always using nootropics as well to try to get that extra focus. And, my day's built around that in the morning, just starting off with like coffee, L-theanine, and then, I'll have some C60 with that. And then it just like jump starts the day. Then I'll move into something else after that. Trying to get away from the modafinil, because once you start using that, it's hard to go back to find anything else, because it's just constant complete focus at all times. But to try to do a different combo of more natural substances to get that same effect. But yeah, I'm always trying to find something that I can continue to focus and get more work done, so then I'll have more time to work out on the farm at the end of the day. Because if I can focus and get everything done and just sit down and sit there for 6 hours and go with my eyes wide open, bugging out, cranking up to whatever types of music that I feel like for the day, if I can get that straight 6 hours or 7 hours of work done, then I'll have extra time to go out and get out on the back 40. Well, it's actually a back 6, and then up into the forest, or, work on the orchard out in the front, or, build something else for the chickens, or work on the barn, or whatever it is on top of that. So for me, I'm looking at any edge I can possibly get to be more productive for those times that I'm sitting here to do the work. And yes, to answer long story short, yes, I do find more focus. And that's one of my substitutes instead of, like I say, the modafinil is harder to get. The prescriptions aren't there much anymore. And like I say, it's time to find a substitute. So indeed, that is in my regimen.
You have a choice in today's unstable world. Eat sea bugs or plan ahead. Eat sea bugs or buy the storable foods. When a disaster strikes, we may find ourselves confined to our homes or shelters for days or weeks. In such situations, having a supply of bugs.
And now on with the video.
I would add as a nootropic, MCT oil, so medium chain triglycerides are a well-known and great nootropic. And I tend to do, I don't know if you drink coffee, but for me, my typical routine each day is, in my cup of coffee, I'm putting a teaspoon and a half of our MCT. So it's kind of like a bulletproof coffee kind of thing. Have you ever tried bulletproof coffee, David?
I haven't, but I'm definitely familiar with it. And yeah, a little bit coconut oil in there. That's not exactly the same as that, same, but different, as they say in different parts of the world. But yeah, those guys, you roll it back 6, 7, even more years, they were on it in front of everybody, pushing this bounds and limits on what you can do with your brain in terms of focus, getting the work done, and then using that extra time that you saved instead of dilly-dallying for 9 hours when you could have gotten everything done in 6.
Yeah, so actually that inventor is the guy who brought the bulletproof coffee to prominence is Dave Asprey. Yeah. And I actually went to his conference. It was a month and a half, 2 months ago in Orlando. And so I got some interesting test results. I don't know if you want to share with your audience. It's kind of
absolutely. If you have anything that would be interesting, for sure.
Yeah, so I'll get a little geeky, but I'll try and keep it fair, down to a short period of time. So basically, I'm at this conference. It's the Biohackers Conference. This is a bunch of people who are really optimizing their systems. They're really nice, lots of great booths, lots of great opportunities. And this is me attending. This is born out of, okay, our product is actually responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result in history. Right. And so as I'm trying to understand that better, I'm trying to understand what other products are out there are better. What might the mechanisms be? So I'm going to these conferences to learn these types of things. As I'm walking around, I come across this booth, GlycanAge. And GlycanAge is basically they've taken 200,000 data points on glycans. We'll talk about that here in a second. And these are studies where they're trying to assess what your biological age is versus what your chronological age is. And I think that's really, really important. You look at what is it, it's a scientifically proven measurement tool. It works by measuring chronic inflammation, right? So that's one of the things that we're not allowed to say that our product addresses, but you'll see these results. And it's some people call chronic inflammation actually inflammaging, because the medical community understands that this inflammation is so detrimental for our health. So I'm going to skip the results. We'll save the results towards the end. We'll have our big reveal, right? It's important to, if we look here, I forget, there was one place where it talks about Yeah, so glycans are complex carbohydrate molecules, and they're one of the 4 primary components of your cells, right? So it's in the same category of DNA, we're familiar with that, proteins, we're familiar with that, lipids, the cell wall is actually is a lipid, and you throw in glycans, and they're really a sugar and how your body manages sugar. So it's a fundamental component, maybe you haven't heard of, but it's really important, and they've taken to looking at this to understand what your biological age is. Typically, the way aging works is 3 chief components, right? There's natural aging. So as you get older, your just ability to manage these glycans and how your body manages them changes. You've got genetic factors, right? So you can't really change those, but you can be aware of them. I think it's good to get some genetic tests and understand how your body is going to best respond to things. And then finally, lifestyle. So the results of this study are really going to talk about what my lifestyle is like my lifestyle, how it impacts my biological age. And I can tell you C60 Evo is one of the key components of my lifestyle. So I'm going to go in. I don't want to get too geeky, but I'm going to go in and look at a couple of their actual indexes, right? So they're looking at glycans from a youth perspective, really specifically and technically looking at those glycans that have 2 galactoses, excuse me. And in this case, my results were, I'm in the 86th percentile, higher is better. So I'm pretty happy with that, right? Then we get into glycan shield. This is looking at sialic acid, and higher is better. I'm in the 98th percentile. So really I only have 2 percentage points to improve. That's pretty phenomenal. And both of these, you look, are anti-inflammatory indexes, right? So I'm in the top 2% in one of those. That's pretty phenomenal. And in the 86% in another. That's pretty amazing. Now we're looking at glycans that mature. This is a pro-inflammatory. So how much inflammation do I have in my body? And in lower number is better. You can see here having lower numbers is better. I'm in as 2 percentile. Now, again, we can't make claims about C60 Evo and that's impact on this, but, we can't make that claim. We'll just leave it there. Then you look at glycan lifestyle. Again, in this case, lower is better. I'm in the 39th percentile, so just a little bit below average. And then we're looking at glycan median. Again, in this case, higher is better. I'm at 44, so I'm 6 percentage points below average. But these are more of lifestyle, and this one is actually genetic, right? So impacted by your genes. So I don't have control over that. This one is lifestyle, so I'm good. Maybe some room for improvement, right, to get that number lower. But in terms of how inflamed am I, not very flamed, right? In terms of how much anti-inflammatory indexes I have, pretty high. So given all that, David, what do you think? This gave me a result of my biological age versus my chronological age. What do you think it came out at?
Biological age?
Yes.
Somebody in their mid-30s.
I like that. I'm 54, so I'd be very happy to have the blood of a 35-year-old, right? Here's the actual result.
What? 21.
I'm not even sure I want to be younger than this. Somebody pointed out, like, you got to be able to drink. Like, that's you don't want to be younger than 21. That's a full 33 years younger. So from again, this is 200,000 data points that have gone into this kind of technology to assess your biological age. And really what this is saying is I have the blood of a 21-year-old versus, now you compare that to Alfred, which Patty mentioned earlier. He's 81. His doctor said he had the blood of a 25-year-old. That's a 56-year difference. So I'm only 33 years different. But, if I were 56 years different, I'd be like 2 years negative. So that's not even a possibility. But I think this, and you look at, I hang my hat on C60 Evo, the formula for driving most of this. Like that's where I sit. That's why I was interested in taking this test.
Yeah. So does that come into, maybe I'll choose my words carefully here. Is that like immune system support, do you think, where you're getting on something where it's building your body's defense mechanisms, that's, counteracting some of these toxins that or around our environment. And again, toxins, such a generic word, but just some of these nasties that are out there that suddenly are everywhere. Because when I was growing up, it wasn't all encompassing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in the air, in the water, in the things you're around, just everywhere, including the grass, the foods and everything. It just wasn't like that, but it is now. Like there's really nowhere you can turn where there's not something that's going to smack your body a little bit, and your body's defense mechanisms are going to have to continually be pumping to try to knock back some of these environmental stresses that we just are immersed in every day.
Yeah, a lot of these environmental stresses it do end up in inflammation, right? And that ends up being inflammaging, so chronic inflammation. So I don't want to necessarily draw any conclusions, but my anti-inflammatory indexes were in the top 2-3%, right? There was only 2% room for improvement, and then my pro-inflammatory, meaning how inflamed am I, we're at the bottom 2%, which is exactly where you want them. I think that's important. And then Patty, I think, kind of alluded to like round 2.0. And people have asked me, right, in terms of long haulers, they've asked me in terms of what might be going on. And we don't have any claims. We don't have any studies around it. But there are some things that do positively, that support positive impacts, right? So one of them is, again, we address exercise inflammation. So you've got some component that's acute inflammation. And the other is, if you look at where a spike protein might attach to cells, there's an actual receptor on the cells that is its target. And it turns out that this ESS60 molecule sits perfectly in that receptor. So you can imagine if this is in that receptor, then your protein doesn't have a place to attach, and that's going to foil that infection process. And so that's one of the things that again, we can't draw end conclusions like this is great for that, but we can say these are reasons that people might be getting good responses from this.
Yeah, that kind of comes into potential synergies if there are, and I don't know, really what you can delve in or dip a toe in the water on, existing therapeutic effects, synergies, that sort of thing that come along with that neurological function. You can feel the difference on that. That's a testimonial from me saying your brain feels different for sure. It's clear. There's clarity there. So that's from me out to everybody. But I was just curious, therapeutic effects or synergies on top of that.
Yeah, so I can give you a study, and first you think about this BOSS theory of buffering oxidative stress system. If you're improving the powerhouse of every cell, then you're going to also be improving, the powerhouse of your immune cells, and the impact there is going to be is pretty obvious. I can share now. This is a particular study. It's an in vitro study, so that's in a petri dish, and it's kind of the low rung of studies. Like you're like, oh great, something happens in a petri dish, then you got a lot more work to do. But I think it's worth sharing. If you take cancer cells and you take healthy cells in a petri dish, and you introduce an anti-cancer agent, what you're really introducing is a poison. That's what most anti-cancer agents are. And the goal, the hope, is that you poison out the cancers and kill all the cancers before you poison out the healthy cells. In the presence of this ESS60 molecule, you've got those same cancer cells, those same healthy cells, and you introduce the anti-cancer agent. The presence of the ESS60 molecule increases the efficacy against the cancer cells, so they die faster, and actually has protective effects for the healthy cells, so they are able to resist the poison better. Again, in a study, but this is where you're talking about, this has that parallel of the synergies with other components that are working in your body.
You want to do a disclaimer, Captain Chris?
Yeah, so we'll just throw out there, it's always a good time to throw out, the FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. I really think that disclaimers is good to add because it's the right approach. Hey, this is a cutting edge molecule. This is a cutting edge supplement. There's more research to be done. We're just sharing what's out there, and then you guys can make a decision if it's something that you're interested in trying or not.
And I'd like to mention one thing, and I'm going to call it a coincidence, probably, that we have 5 different clinics that deal with that issue, the big C, and they are reordering dozens and dozens of bottles of C60 Evo olive oil. And I've called the doctors and said, how are you selling this? Like at your office? And they said, it's daily protocol. So we don't make a claim, but it's a coincidence that 5 different clinics have been reordering and taking care of a lot of people. I wanted veterinarians to get the Evo for cats and for dogs. It would hurt their business, though, maybe. None of them wrote back. I was really surprised. But what a great thing it is for people with dogs and cats to be able to put a couple of drops on something so easy every day and see such improvements and not see your vet anywhere near as often. And with all the things we're breathing, eating, drinking, dogs and cats are also susceptible and more because they're putting their feet down everywhere and then they lick it when they come in. So we want to really boost their immunity. And Evo, in my opinion, it's so easy. You know, pets don't lie. When you put it on your pet food and you see them get better, that's pretty amazing. But it's also an inside job. We know as conscious people when we feel better. I think when people say, I don't know if I feel it, it's like, well, you're so busy, you don't even think. And then all of a sudden the guitar player said to me, oh my God, my fingers don't hurt anymore. So it's like you almost have to slow some people down if you even want them to appreciate the benefits. But most people feel it pretty quickly and pretty regularly. And I recommend you take a teaspoon before noon, preferably with a little food and water. I take a tablespoon because I had a lot of detoxing to do. We haven't had hardly any comments about I don't feel good after or I don't like the taste. We don't get any of that. It's been incredibly positive, but every once in a while, somebody that was like myself, in the beginning, you might feel a little queasy as you're detoxing this mile-long intestines of years of muck build up. And I noticed that it was like a roto-rooter for me. And I was like instantly, not instant, maybe a month in, but I was like a new person. And weight came off. It's going to be different for everyone. But when you're pulling the oxidative stress and you just keep pulling like a vacuum going through you and leaving, then you do it another day. It kind of builds. It's kind of like an antique car or a new car. You can't run them without oil. And the better the oil, the better your car is going to run. And it's kind of like all of us, food, water, you know, we need to be putting the good stuff in. So in a world of carbon-60 fullerenes, there's a lot of industrial grade, and then there's ESS60. And there's only one lab in the world that's been manufacturing it longer than anyone else, 32 years. And that's our lab in Texas. We are a Patriot lab in Houston. And my guys actually invented the reactor that makes carbon-60 fullerenes. And the comment that we had after one of our recent shows, the guy said, 32 years, yeah, right, look at him. What was he, 10 when he started? And I said, nope, he was 54. He's 54 now, so he was 22 when he invented the reactor with his partner and mine, Robert Wong. But they are the only guys in the world that's lasted this long. As consumers, we try and encourage people, and it's why we have focused on only selling ESS60 to humans and pets, because it's a different cleaning process that is safe for humans. And the other industrial grade C60 has been known not to be safe for ingestion, but great for batteries, solar cells, ink. And so our lab sells both. But when it comes to customers, we will not sell to wholesalers that we know are going to be making it in their basement and selling it to people. If they want the industrial grade, Chris actually says, sorry, we can't sell it to you. I like that about our lab. And that's how we feel about the whole industry. You know, you either do it right or we're probably going to catch you.
So let me ask you a question. Now you can answer or not, but you know, since it seems like they're going to try the 2.0 on the vid here, this is from myself. This is not a question from anybody off the comment board. This is my own personal question, just knowing about shipping logistics. So I'm going to ask this one personal. During the COVID-19, the pandemic, how were your operations affected or slowed down? And then if it were to occur again with 2.0, but even more disruptions in the supply chain, I mean, how's that going to affect? And, for anybody out there, just a personal thing like me, I'm buying all types of extra. I'm getting extra animal feed. I'm getting extra lumber. I'm getting extra solar panels, inverters, a huge amount of extra things. Cause I know this time it might be a little bit different than last time if they're able to try to push this messaging. So, and one thing, buy extra if you're going to buy something. Two is one and one is none. You've heard that saying before, but now I'm like 3 is 1 because we're at that point, like supply chain. So, urgency of people buying, but then really what was the effects of that on your business or shipping last time for the pandemic? And if it were to occur again, what kind of disruptions would you anticipate?
Well, it definitely impacted us, like for sure. So we had bottle issues. That was probably our biggest issue, like getting supplies for bottles. So we were able to manage it, but yeah, if it's on par or a little bit worse, like we could certainly run into issues. And Patty kind of digs into this usually, like telling people how to save the most amount of money. Buying a case, right? That's a case of 12 units. I think there's Patty will know the discount, but there's a discount there plus the discount with your coupon code. That is a reasonable strategy given what may be coming.
Okay, and then one last question here from on the comment box, and actually, Patty, you just alluded to this. The reason, the food. So the comment, if you're going to take this when you eat, what will happen with C60? Will it just pull from the contaminants that are in the food and not do anything in the body, or how does that process work when it flows through? If you're going to take it with water or with food that might have some contaminants in there, C60 will probably pull right in there. So that was the question, something around that vein.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the points is people often ask, should I take it with food? And the reality is it's this molecule dissolved in olive oil, and olive oil is a food, right? So you don't necessarily have to take it with food. Interesting question. If there's some toxins in the food that you're eating, this mitigating those would be a good thing, right? Even if it doesn't get into your system because it's mitigating those toxins, it's actually mitigating those toxins. And so I think that's actually a good thing. There is some thought process that's similar to like an activated charcoal, although activated charcoal is very much a macromolecule. This is very much a micromolecule. So in fact, a nanomolecule, that their size differences are substantial, that allows the SS60 molecule to do things that activated charcoal can't. Having said that, if you take activated charcoal, that is one of the things that a poison control center will recommend that you take, because it tends to absorb those things that are not good for the body. And there certainly is some research that suggests that this molecule would do that. I wouldn't look at it necessarily as hey, don't take it with food, because there might be, I don't know, say glyphosate in there, and then this molecule might be managing the glyphosate instead of doing other things. I think it's an all around, like, that's not a bad thing if that's what's going on.
Yeah, we made it through the last one with grace, and business just slowly. I think we were up 30% over the year before. Not to hurt anybody else's feelings that lost their company, but when you're doing something that people need and you're listening to the comments and the response of your audience like we did, we have 3 different oils. The olive oil is the strongest. The avocado is close by, and the
number 2,
MCT,
the green one. Yeah, I found. Yeah, also this one is much lighter, and it definitely heavy dog in the morning. And then if you're going to do something, the avocado oil is a little bit lighter one for sure.
Chris tosses it on his salad, and Roseanne Barr loves it. She says she makes avocado toast by drizzling it on with sea salt. Okay, keep this here, because I'll just run through the products. You've got the 3 oils. Then you've got the advanced facial serum, which is all organic, vegan, natural, really divine. I think you said your wife loves it, and you put it on under your eyes and look like a teenager. And then we've got the 2-part facial serum called Youth Renew with the peptide and the ESS60 combination. And then we have 2 lip balms infused with ESS60. David, have you tried them?
Yeah, those are fabulous.
Oh, yay. Well, it's pretty neat to get something that's infused with ESS60 on your lips. It lasts probably half an hour to an hour per putting it on, which is amazing. And the mint really tastes like mint, smells like mint. but it lasts a long time, which I love, and it softens the lips. And then we have a plain flavor for people that like unflavored. The green pear is the hair renewal, and it's for thin hair, lost hair, bald guys daring their head to grow back. We are seeing really great reviews on that. And then we've got the capsules, which is they're you take 6 a day rather than the oil. They're great for travel. You can put them in a baggie and take them on the plane, but you can't take an 8-ounce bottle on the plane. So good idea for travelers or for people that don't like the taste of oil. And then we've got the dog formula, the ESS 60 for dogs and the C60 Evo for cats, which has salmon essence. And the one for dogs has a bacon essence that dogs love. Sometimes men say, wait a minute, I want the bacon one. So just buy C60 Evo for dogs, because it is exactly the olive oil that all of us are taking, plus a little natural bacon essence. So knock yourself out. Or if you like salmon, go for the cat formula. So you get a nice offer at pretty much at checkout, plus using your code, which is right here, ADAPT 2030. So you'll see a box that says, do you have a code? Just type that in, copy, paste, whatever. And no matter what you buy, no matter what you save, you're going to get 10% off more at checkout.
And for everybody out there, that's c60evo.com/adapt2030. And again, I'll put everything below so you can just click and go. You don't even have to type it in yourself. It's already hyperlinked, and it's that easy and that simple. And Chris, any final words? Patty, any last thoughts here for everybody out there?
No, I think, again, David, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for letting us share this content and the research behind this product with your audience. We really appreciate it.
We do indeed. And what I'm going to say is stay positive, because the energy we put out, everybody can feel. You know, we are this moving plasma field. And if we put out all this fear, we're going to add to the fear of the world. But if we put out love, faith, consciousness, kindness, goodness, my God, what a better world it's going to be.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate and of the House of Representatives, ITM Trading is a precious metals company that has been in business for over 27 plus years with a mission to educate and empower individuals to hedge against inflation, mitigate financial risk, and prepare for the Great Reset. ITM Trading has spent the more than 27 years developing a team of expert researchers and gold and silver analysts to make this possible. Simply put, we build strategies which are historically proven to protect your wealth and assets through any economic downturn. Your journey starts with a strategy that will educate and empower you to thrive during the current economic crisis. These resources have been developed for the sole purpose of equipping you with the knowledge you deserve regarding the truth of our volatile financial system. ITM Trading was born out of our founder, Craig Griffin's principle that it takes more work to be honest and to educate people, but it's the right way to do business. Over 27 plus years, and still we are family-led. By leaning into Craig's words and prioritizing relationships over transactions, we've continued evolving. Schedule your free gold and silver strategy call. Dial the digits 866-834-1422. That's 866-834-1422.